Hello and welcome. You're watching World Business Report. In the next half an hour, we'll bring all the top stories affecting you here in India. The top story we're tracking at this hour, the US stocks closed higher on the Wall Street, boosted by mega cap gains, putting S&P 500 just 0.27% away from its record close. Tech giants like Meta Platforms, Nvidia led the charge. Investors are awaiting the December consumer and producer inflation reports, due on Thursday and Friday respectively, which could help determine Federal Reserve's monetary policy path.
U.S. stocks closed higher on Wednesday, but gains were limited ahead of inflation reports and major bank earnings later in the week. The Dow gained just under 0.5%, the S&P 500 added nearly 0.6, and the Nasdaq rose 0.75%. Megacap tech stocks provided the biggest boost to the S&P 500, with shares of Meta Platforms jumping more than 3.5%, the stock reaching its highest level since September 2021. Nvidia, which rose more than 2%, hit a record high after fellow chip maker TSMC beat fourth-quarter revenue expectations. Mark Lucchini is chief investment strategist at Janney Capital Management.
We're seeing a rotation back into some of last year's leadership with names that propagate communications, services, technology, consumer discretionary, really taking the lead. Not surprising, obviously iconic brands that are expected to deliver pretty good earnings, which we're about to embark on here for fourth quarter. And in an environment that really hasn't changed a whole lot, that facilitated why they were among the leaders last year, which is to say kind of steady state economic activity.
Shares of Boeing rose nearly 1% after tumbling the prior two sessions. CEO Dave Calhoun on Tuesday acknowledged errors by the U.S. plane maker as more than 170 jets remain grounded for a fourth day due to safety concerns. DuckGo plunged more than 37% after Fuzzy Panda Research revealed a short position on the health services company's stock. Wednesday marked a watershed moment for Bitcoin as the SEC approved the first U.S.-listed exchange-traded funds to track the world's largest cryptocurrency. Investors are awaiting the December consumer and producer inflation reports due on Thursday and Friday, respectively, which could help determine the Federal Reserve's monetary policy path. And on Friday, the unofficial start of earnings season kicks off with banking giants J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo. All are expected to report lower fourth-quarter profits.
And staying on with the Securities Exchange Commission's nod and the green light to Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, ETFs, in what many are in fact calling a watershed moment for cryptocurrency markets. Bitcoin has gained more than 70% in the recent months on the expectations that ETFs would become an asset class that would be approved by the SEC for the very first time. It was trading upwards of $46,000 as on Wednesday.
A game changer in the world of cryptocurrency. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Wednesday approved the first ever spot Bitcoin ETFs, giving institutional and retail investors exposure to the world's largest cryptocurrency without directly holding it. The funds, from asset managers including BlackRock, Fidelity, and ARK Investments and 21 Shares, among others, track Bitcoin's spot price in real time. Until now, only futures-based Bitcoin ETFs have been available. Some products are expected to begin trading as early as Thursday. The new funds are a major boost to an industry beset by a string of scandals, most notably the collapse of crypto exchange FTX and the conviction on fraud charges of its founder, Sam Bankman-Fried. Ben Laidler is global market strategist at eToro.
So I think it's another key step forward in the development of what is still by far the youngest, smallest, and most retail investor dominated of all the asset classes. And it's happening in what is by far the world's biggest capital market. Let's just recognize this is just one of what I think is a long laundry list of potential asset class catalysts this year. I mean, next up, we would have the Ethereum spot ETF decision, and then we move on to the April Bitcoin halving, on and on, any one of which I think is important in the context of what is still a very small asset class.
The green light from the SEC comes after a false start the day prior. Industry insiders and media outlets were caught off guard Tuesday evening when an unknown party posted on the SEC's X account that all the ETF products had been approved, sending investment executives scrambling to figure out what was happening. The SEC quickly disavowed and deleted the post and said authorities are investigating the incident. X confirmed late on Tuesday that the SEC's account was hacked. Bitcoin has gained more than 70% in recent months on the expectation ETFs for the asset would be approved. It was trading upwards of $46,000 on Wednesday. Standard Chartered analysts this week said the ETFs could draw $50 billion to $100 billion this year alone, driving the price of Bitcoin as high as $100,000.
And the move, of course, has come in as a surprise for people trading in cryptocurrencies, sending the entire industry in a bit of a joy. But Boeing is another story in making. Boeing has now acknowledged lapses in its handling of the recent blowout incident involving an Alaska Airlines jet. The 737 MAX 9 experienced, remember, a mid-air fuelage panel loss, compelling pilots to execute an emergency landing. While there were no serious injuries, the event sparked significant concerns and inquiries into the manufacturing process at Boeing's highly popular jet.
Boeing has admitted to errors over the blowout on an Alaska Airlines jet last week. The 737 MAX 9 lost a large panel from its fuselage, forcing pilots into an emergency landing. No one was seriously hurt, but the incident raised big questions about how Boeing's top-selling jet is made. On Tuesday, Chief Executive Dave Calhoun said the plane maker acknowledged failures over quality control. He said Boeing would approach the problem with 100% transparency and ensure there was no recurrence. US watchdogs have grounded 171 of the planes for checks, with airlines around the world also taking the jets out of service. Concerns had deepened after United Airlines said it had found loose bolts on some of its aircraft. On Tuesday, White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre said travelers had a right to feel safe.
And in that spirit, these particular Boeing aircraft will remain grounded until operators complete enhanced inspections.
The MAX was already under scrutiny following 2 earlier fatal crashes. Those incidents were traced to a design fault that was subsequently fixed. But the jet has since been plagued by numerous production and quality control issues, threatening deeper damage to Boeing's reputation. Calhoun said the new drama had left customers very anxious. Figures out this week showed Boeing hit its jetliner production targets for 2023, but lagged arch-rival Airbus for the 5th year running.
And a day after laying off 500 staff at Amazon's game streaming unit Twitch, the company has now announced to cut hundreds of jobs at the Prime Video and studios as it struggles financially despite strong popularity among players. More details in this report.
Online retail behemoth Amazon said on Wednesday that it will lay off several hundred employees in its streaming and studio operations. That's according to an internal note seen by Reuters, which said impacted staff at Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios in the Americas will be notified by the end of the day, and in most other regions by the end of the week. Last year, the tech giant cut more than 27,000 jobs as part of a wave of U.S. tech layoffs after the industry hired heavily during the pandemic. Amazon also spent aggressively in 2022, closing its $8.5 billion deal for MGM and paying around $465 million on the first season of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power on Prime Video. After widespread job cuts in recent years, many companies are now targeting select projects and divisions in 2024. According to a media report on Tuesday, Amazon's Twitch service is set to lay off 500 employees, or about 35% of its workforce. Its shares, which surged more than 80% last year, were up 1.5% in afternoon trading.
And generative AI is making waves as bots in fact hit Las Vegas' scene, accompanied by none other than the king himself, Elvis, making a triumphant return to the spotlight. Take a look at the big stories from the world of AI.
From why Bali wants to help around the house to how Elvis is back in the building, this is Generation AI. Artificial intelligence is the hot topic at this year's CES Gadget Show in Las Vegas. Dozens of firms are making pitches, from an AI-powered dashboard from Mercedes-Benz to robotic aids for athletes.
You can run faster with this device because it automatically detects your running posture and your intent, and it will synchronize your motion.
Samsung is getting in on the action too, with an AI-powered home robot. Dubbed Bali, it can follow its owner around and operate some household appliances. Chief Executive Han Zhang-hee says the tech is no fad.
That is our goal at Samsung, to bring AI to millions around the world, to make it work for you, to make it work for all.
AI is helping Elvis make a virtual comeback. British firm Layered Reality has used the tech to create a new performance from material, including hours of Elvis's home videos. The virtual reality show will debut in London. Google faces a massive new trial over intellectual property. Singular Computing is seeking close to $1.7 billion in damages, saying the search giant copied its technology for use in AI systems. A lawyer for Google denied the allegations. And Hewlett-Packard Enterprise is making its play. It's buying networking gear maker Juniper Networks for $14 billion. The deal is meant to give HPE access to AI-driven products and things like business networking.
Those are, of course, all the trends emerging from CES 2024 currently on showcase. And revolutionizing the automotive industry, Tesla has finally launched a redesigned version of the popular Model 3 in North America, introducing new features and aesthetics enhanced. And in a move reflecting increased scrutiny on Tesla, regulatory eyes, Tesla has now decided to adjust its car range claims, addressing concerns raised by watchdogs and aiming for transparency in its communication. Listen in.
Tesla cars can't go as far as the company once claimed. The EV pioneer has cut driving range estimates across its product lineup. That as new regulations come into effect with a view to ensuring automakers don't make exaggerated claims. Back in July, Reuters reported that Tesla had rigged an algorithm that controls range estimates shown on the dashboard. The story also revealed that the firm created a secret team to suppress thousands of customer complaints over range. Now a review of figures on Tesla websites reveals that estimates have been changed. For the Model S Plaid sedan, the number drops from 396 miles to 359. For one variant of the Model Y crossover, the figure goes from 303 miles down to 285. Tesla did not respond to a request for comment on the changes. It has long touted the long range of its vehicles as a key benefit. However, experts have said the numbers were inflated. Automotive website Edmunds said most EVs it tested actually exceeded their claimed range, with Tesla being the notable exception. Ford and General Motors said they had not had to change any figures as a result of the new regulations.
And with that, it's time for a short, quick commercial break. We'll be back on the other side.
Ram's Ayodhya rebuilt. Ram Lala's Pran Pratishtha. Countdown to January 22nd. Dateline Ayodhya. Catch the mega coverage only on News9 Live.
And staying on with the Consumer Electronics Show currently on, Mercedes-Benz has now unveiled a cutting-edge AI dashboard at CES 2024, showcasing the latest automotive technology. Let's listen in.
The new CLA that is coming out next year, we are then launching a new virtual assistant, which is generative AI based, and it's there to create a more empathic and intuitive way to communicate with your vehicle.
It's absolutely amazing, and it's the future car. And I think that if it will be available, I would play it.
Yeah, but I still have skepticism about AI products. I question myself, is that the way of the future or not? I like it, but yet I'm hesitant. I guess I have to see it to believe it and see how well it's going to perform.
ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, is in talks with multiple prospective buyers of its gaming assets, including the world's largest video games company, Tencent.
ByteDance is in talks to sell its gaming assets. The TikTok owner said Tuesday it's speaking with a number of potential buyers, including the world's largest video games company, Tencent. A ByteDance spokesperson said talks are ongoing, but no deal has yet been reached. Local Chinese media reported ByteDance is in discussions with Tencent about a deal involving multiple popular video games. Tencent did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. In November, ByteDance said it would overhaul its Nuverse gaming unit. The Chinese social media giant further said it would pull away from its gaming business to focus on other core businesses. It comes just 5 years after it began its move into the $185 billion global video games market. ByteDance's relationship with Tencent has warmed after a harsh period of competition in gaming. Reuters reported last month, Tencent made heavy use of ByteDance's advertising network to promote its latest game, Dreamstar.
And Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company has posted flat revenue figures, but against expectation, the company has managed to surpass forecast for the current reporting period.
TSMC reported a largely flat fourth quarter revenue on Wednesday, but it still beat both the company's and market's expectations. The world's largest contract chipmaker includes tech giants Apple and Nvidia as customers. It's benefited from a boom in artificial intelligence applications. Revenue in the final 3 months of last year came in at $20.1 billion, slightly up from a year ago. Both TSMC and analysts had predicted lower than that, but December proved a challenging month. TSMC reported revenue fell 8.4% year-on-year, sharply worse than in the previous month. The firm did not provide any details or forward guidance in its brief revenue statement. It's also due to report fourth quarter earnings on January 18th, when the firm will also update its outlook for the current quarter and the year.
In a major transportation development, German railways are facing a near halt as strikes kick off, causing disruptions and impacting the daily commute for countless passengers all across the country.
Thousands faced train cancellations across Germany from Wednesday as a 3-day nationwide rail strike began. The The GDL Train Drivers Union started its main strike in the early hours, while cargo train drivers walked out Tuesday evening. The long-running row over train driver pay and working hours flared up again following a 3-week truce over Christmas. The union wants a reduced working week for its shift workers from 38 to 35 hours on current wages. National rail operator Deutsche Bahn has offered flexibility on working hours but refused to reduce them without a pay cut. Klaus Roselski is head of Germany's GDL Train Drivers Union.
We're demanding a staggered reduction in weekly working hours with compensation equalisation.
Deutsche Bahn argues the union's demands would lead to a 50% hike in staffing costs. The strikes have forced the train operator to run only stripped-back emergency timetables. Anja Bröker is a Deutsche Bahn spokesperson.
Der Streik der Lokführergewerkschaft GDL.
The strike by the train drivers union GDL has had a massive impact on train services in Germany, both passenger and freight. We've had to take a massive number of trains off the tracks. According to an emergency plan, we've been running around 20% of our passenger services since 2 a.m.
The train strikes add more travel chaos in Europe's largest economy, which is also dealing with protests by farmers over subsidy cuts. Convoys of tractors blocked roads earlier this week and affected traffic.
And in a very surprising turn of events in the UK, an aftermath of a TV drama has resulted in a significant scandal, reigniting the scandal in the UK. The unexpected resurgence of controversy brings to light unresolved issues, sparkling new renewed public interest as well as scrutiny. Listen in.
For decades, Britain's post office scandal, perhaps the country's biggest ever miscarriage of justice, has gone unnoticed by most people.
You're responsible for the loss. I haven't got that money.
But all that changed this month thanks to a new ITV television drama, which portrayed how hundreds of postal workers were wrongfully prosecuted over computer system errors.
No one else has ever reported any problems with Horizon.
Now, the ensuing public furore is putting top post office executives and former ministers in the firing line. So what exactly happened, and what's next?
This is about the reputation of the post office.
Mr. Bates versus the Post Office shows how hundreds of postal workers at the state-owned post office were wrongly prosecuted or convicted between 1999 and 2015 for alleged false accounting, theft and fraud. Some received jail time, went bankrupt or had their marriages fall apart. Others died before their names were cleared. The real culprit? A glitchy software system called Horizon, developed by Japan's Fujitsu. It incorrectly showed money missing from the accounts of individual branches. The Post Office, which also handles people's savings and pensions, maintained for years that the accounting system was reliable, while accusing branch managers of theft. Problems started being reported to the Post Office from the early 2000s. In 2009, trade publication Computer Weekly reported claims of flaws with Horizon alongside the employee prosecutions. The Post Office began to investigate as pressure built from media and lawmakers. In late 2019, the Post Office agreed to settle claims made by 555 sub-postmasters. The government says roughly $175 million was paid out to over 2,700 claimants. But many found their compensation was greatly reduced by legal fees. Some are yet to receive anything or have their convictions quashed.
It's frustrating.
Alan Bates is one of the leading claimants.
This money is only what they're owed. This is money that to put them back in a position that they would have been in had Post Office not done what they did to them.
No senior Post Office staff have been punished. In 2015, its boss, Paula Venables, told a parliamentary committee that there had been no evidence of any miscarriage of justice. She eventually stepped down in 2019, having received more than $5.7 million in salary and bonuses during her 7-year tenure. Former Postal Affairs Minister Ed Davey has also come under the spotlight. He refused to meet Bates in May 2010, but later said he was clearly misled by Post Office executives. Fujitsu has continued to win multiple British government contracts. It says it supports a public inquiry and has apologised for its role in the scandal. Bates hopes pressure on officials will mount.
I think there's going to be a lot more political attention on this, and it will build the momentum and hopefully bring speedy resolution. Certainly to all those who are still waiting for their financial redress in all of this, which has been so lacking throughout many, many years in their lives.
The stories are appalling. People were treated absolutely appallingly. That's wrong.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has called the scandal an appalling miscarriage of justice and says his government is considering exonerations. London's Metropolitan Police has also confirmed its own investigation. Separately, an independent public inquiry is gathering evidence.
And with that, it's a wrap on the World Business Report. More news coming up on the other side.
Why is the state not looking at putting an embargo on that?
And the state has not been able to handle that part of its own responsibilities.
It's not the fiefdom of politicians. They owe it to the people.
Everybody is as good a citizen as we.
As a Telangana person, I will not accept his leadership.
What was worrying was the stories that were coming from the Congress that there was internal sabotage.
You can't straight away give 12%. There is no provision.
Exactly.
You need to do a lot of other things.
Yeah, just because they are tribal, everyone does it.
Wait.
That's my problem. How do ordinary folks deal with this? Think about it.
Yes, the scale of the attack surprised us.
When you get a series of alerts, 16 intelligence alerts, if Maharashtra government at that time had